Welcome to the A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal podcast, where each week I, Dr. Mal, share life lessons and motivation to kickstart your Monday. Whether you're starting your day or winding down, join me or me and my future guest for a burst of positivity and a fresh perspective. Let's make Mondays meaningful together. Greetings and happy Monday, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mallory D. McCoy, and welcome to this week's episode of A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. May my light exude positivity and kindness, and may my love be extended to all who could use a little extra. Ashe. Let's seize the moment. Today's show is one of a series of shows titled Business Queens of Kansas City. It's Women's History Month. We still in there. And for me, since I moved through life as a Black woman, it's important to me. I'm also an entrepreneur. I struggle with saying that word, by the way. And I just happen to have a few businesses up my sleeve, including Bell's Garden. The whole mission of Bell's Garden is centered around Black girls and Black women. I have literally made Black girls and Black women my business. Plus, this podcast primarily streams on the Alive Podcast Network, the first Black-owned, woman-owned podcast network in the nation. I also support Black-owned, women-owned businesses when I can. So y'all need to know, in saying all that, I am very serious about supporting Black women entrepreneurs. So I am dedicating and have dedicated my March shows to highlighting Black-owned, women-owned businesses here in the Kansas City metro area. The women that I've interviewed and that you've seen so far, as you can attest if you've listened and seen in this series, are powerhouses and incredible women. Last week, I hope that you enjoyed Jessica and I's conversation, because after that conversation, I was just so lifted. She really is just a beautiful human being. So I hope that you were inspired by her, and I know that you'll be inspired by the conversation today. And not only inspired, you will certainly learn something new from the conversation. So before we get into it, you should know I love me a good definition, and I'm team #facts over feelings. So let's get into it. The topic of today's conversation is all about the lymphatic system, your body's cleanup crew, and why a good massage can help it do its job like a champ. So basically, the lymphatic system moves fluid, that fluid's called lymph, around your body, picking up waste, bacteria, and other party crashers to help flush them out. Think of it as your body's own housekeeping service. And unlike your blood, which has the heart to pump it around, lymph fluid relies on muscle movement and gravity to get flowing. So if you're parked on the couch 24/7, that system's working in slow mode. If you're putting aluminum deodorant over your sweat glands underneath your arms, you are stopping the system from properly doing its job. Here's where massage enters, specifically the technique called manual lymphatic drainage. Gentle rhythmic pressure helps coax the lymph fluid along, encouraging it to scoot right on out of those tissues and into the lymph nodes, where it can be filtered, detoxed, and politely shown its exit. Because guess what? Your body's smart. It has systems to tell it exactly what to do. It is self-healing. It can heal itself. You just have to practice an optimized lifestyle in order for it to properly do these things. A properly executed lymphatic massage has all types of benefits, but you'll have to listen to the episode to hear about them, because we talk in great length about the benefits of having a lymphatic massage. And just to keep in mind, lymphatic massage is not a magic wand for serious conditions, so you should always check in with a healthcare pro if you've got bigger concerns. But for everyday wellness and to be proactive with your wellness, a gentle lymph-friendly massage can be a cozy way to help your body do what it's designed to do, just a little better. And there you have it. The lymphatic system, housekeeping hero of the body, teamed up with a massage for a 1-2 punch of wellness. That's what we're talking about today. All guest podcasts are titled What They Want You to Know, and my intention is to dive deep into the minds of experts, thought leaders, and fascinating individuals to uncover the one thing they truly want you to know about their area of expertise. I intend to unapologetically and unequivocally center the voices of people from powerful groups targeted by oppression. However, if there are other community members who can interject on the topic, they'll be invited to the cookout too. This week's guest is Dr. Suellen Johnson, a dedicated healthcare professional, wife, and mother navigating life in the U.S. since moving from Brazil in 2016. With over 18 years of experience as a physical therapist, she specializes in holistic, patient-centered care, holding a doctorate in physical therapy, a master's in manual therapy, and certifications in health coaching and post-cosmetic care therapy. Passionate about movement and wellness, she began her work in manual lymphatic drainage in Brazil and continues to empower individuals in their recovery journeys. Outside of work, she loves samba. Can't wait for her to teach me. Cooking, singing, and exploring Kansas City with her family. I have not personally used her services yet, but my partner has. And let me tell you, his lymphatic system was quite active after using her services. So, as you already know, this conversation is going to be engaging and informative. So grab a notebook, get ready to take some notes. Here's what we talked about. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Suellen. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you agreed to being interviewed. Would you start by introducing yourself?
Yes. So my name is Suellen Johnson. I am a physical therapist and I've been working as a physical therapist for 17 years now. I come from Brazil. So I had a lot of experiences there and then I got married and moved to the States and started practicing here too after I've been through all of the process of recertification and all that part. Currently, I started a business here working with lymphatic drainage, manual lymphatic drainage, with the purpose of seeing patients post-cosmetic therapy and also for wellness. I really like to work with that part of prevention. It's one of the things that I'm really passionate about. And with my background, back home, back in Brazil, we do a lot to prevent before working with the consequences of not being healthy or injuries or things like that. So that was why this idea of starting this business came about.
I love that. And before we get into lymphatic drainage, can we just talk about why did you choose Kansas City out of all the places to relocate to?
So I love to say this for love.
Oh my goodness. So you met your husband here or
Yeah, so my husband was born and raised in Kansas City. So I came to do an exchange student program. I was learning English and then I was going to California, but my friend, that is his god sister, she is half Brazilian and she was living in Brazil at the time. And she's like, but you're going during the holidays, which is Christmas and New Year's Eve. So that's going to be weird with a family you've never met. I'm going home. Let's go with me. And then you spend the holidays and then you go. And I'm like, okay. And then I end up staying at her godmother's house, which is my mother-in-law.
my goodness. I also have a godmom and I have a god sister. I would say the concept of godparenthood is not as serious as it is in other parts of the world, but we do say that. Like, and I even have a godson myself. So that's so cool. And I love how that happened. So tell us about lymphatic drainage and the procedure itself.
There are some different techniques for manual lymphatic drainage. Water is one of the most known ones. And it was in 1930s. It's the first couple of mentions that they start talking about it. So the lymphatic system is intimately connected with the circulatory system. And we can think about the lymphatic system kind of like a sewage. Whatever the circulatory system can't carry at a certain determinate point, the lymphatic system is doing that to take it all the way back to the venous system and then to the heart, and then it's going to clean everything out. So that's pretty much like in a gross matter speaking about this system. So it really works related to our immune system, to carrying like big proteins and things that are not, there should not be in specific parts of our body. So that's how the lymphatic system works.
Oh, well, I just learned something. I love that analogy to sewage because that makes sense, although it does sound gross. So, who needs to have their lymphatic system drained? Who is this procedure for?
So the procedure can be for example, people that are interested in improving, boosting their immune system. So just related to wellness, you don't need to have a lymphatic system that is sick to get it done. You can do it just because you want to boost your immune system. There are many different indications for it. For example, I have recently worked with pregnant patients, of course, that they can only start doing it with medical release and after the first trimester. I also use it even with orthopedic patients that have had surgeries too. So whenever you have an edema, you have accumulation of fluid in the tissue, you can have the manual lymphatic drainage done. There are some new studies talking about the manual lymphatic drainage and even mechanical drainage that can help with those machines that they're using now, that can help for athletes, for example, with removing acid lactic. There isn't anything that it's proven with like a meta-analysis yet, but there are some initial studies that are starting, like some clinical trials starting to talk about that. Since if you think about the system being a system that is removing things that are not good for our body, that would make sense.
Interesting. So, you're saying that this is a practice that would it fall under medical care or holistic care?
It can fall under both. Like when you talk about like wellness, but also medical care, manual lymphatic drainage is one of the gold standards for treatment of lymphedema. So patients, for example, that have lymphedema because due to cancer, because of surgery, so that's a treatment that is done for them as well. It's one of the maneuvers done in decongestive therapy.
And I love that you're providing other alternative ways that a service like yours can be used because what we most hear about it being used for is when people get some sort of cosmetic procedure, which that's something that you also specialize in anyway. And how has this made an impact for your patients that you specialize in post cosmetic care therapy?
It's so funny that when I did like the course many years ago in Brazil, because Brazil is known for being a country where we have lots of plastic surgery. So they talk a lot about manual lymphatic drainage. Actually, most of the surgeons that I've worked with, it's kind of like mandatory. After you've done it, they already have like a package. You need to get it done. Whenever you have a cosmetic procedure or whenever you have a surgery, you are affecting that system, correct? So you are creating edema. So now your system is not 100% anymore. So we are assisting the system to go back to eliminating. So whenever I have like accumulation of the edema of that fluid, that's why they make it like mandatory, because it makes a big difference on the outcomes for the surgery. And usually you pay a lot of money for having those surgeries done. It's a process. The recovery, usually when they open the door, one of the teachers that I had here in the United States, she even posted, she wrote a book, and the cover of the book is the face that patients make whenever they open the door when we get to their homes, because they're like, they are like, oh my God, I didn't know this was going to be the recovery process. They're very excited about the results, but there is a whole process with the recovery. And for me, one of the things that it's really, really interesting is after they have like the first couple of sessions, or even sometimes even after the first session, they're like, oh my God, I feel so relieved, because all of that edema, all of that pressure that is causing, it's very uncomfortable for them. And you already had a procedure, you had a surgical procedure, so you're not sleeping very well. So whenever you have the manual lymphatic drainage that helps with removing all of this fluid through your own system, it also promotes relaxation. So they report that they sleep better, that they feel much better. Like just this week, I saw a patient and she texted me back. She was like, "Oh my God, I had mental clarity after that session. I felt so much better. I slept better." So that makes my day. And really, I really like whenever um, this method that I am applying is really helping patients.
So there's several questions that I have from that. So how soon does a patient see you after they have a cosmetic procedure like this?
So it depends. I've had different experiences here. Usually after 7 days, 7 to 14 days, there are some surgeons that request patients to start like kind of immediately. They have a couple of sessions, even whenever they're traveling to other states to have it done. They start having a couple of sessions there.
And then how many times will they have to see you in their recovery process?
It depends on how much swelling you have. Some patients have more swelling than others. So that's why it's so important. The first session is pretty much an assessment. It's an evaluation that I do to check how your recovery process is doing. Like I said, some patients they have a lot of swelling, a lot of bruising. Some patients not as much. Depends on how many procedures. One of the things that I face a lot, many patients they don't want to go under many times, so they have like 3, 4 procedures done at the same time. So then it can be a very rough recovery, and the manual lymphatic drainage can really assist with that, but still.
Yikes. That sounds like a that sounds like a whole lot. When you say recovery, and it's like me volunteering to go be hurting and having to go, I'm like, no. just I'll just do what I got. I'll just figure out another way to do it. But one way that I could see I would be able to use your services is if I had sinus issues. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know even some of my family suffers from sinus issues. How would having the manual lymphatic drainage procedure help those with sinus issues?
So it depends on the type of sinus issues, because one of counterindications is a present inflammation process. So it just depends on what is happening now. If it's something that you are just chronically, you have that, for example, with changing of the weather, it's something that starts bothering you, causes, and you can feel sometimes like puffiness. You feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm swelling. I feel like I am puffy. You can have some help from that, but you cannot have a current inflammation process, because that's a counterindication actually from the manual lymphatic drainage.
You also talked about the procedure that you use. What makes what you do unique and different from someone else who might also say that they provide this service?
So I am also a physical therapist. So what I do that is different, I perform the manual lymphatic drainage, but I also do like a post-operatory care. So there is taping that I can use that can assist you, that can be used, for example, for patients that are having more edema, that can assist with that. The taping can be something that can be used for fibrosis, scar management, prescription of actually after there is a release for starting to do some movements and exercise. It depends on each type of surgery. But once the patients are released to start doing that, as a physical therapist, I can prescribe those exercises for them. Also, environmental intervention. My eyes are trained for safety. Each procedure requires a specific positioning. Just a quick example, abdominoplasty. Patients cannot be completely extended. They need to keep a flexion because of where the incision is, so they cannot be hyperextending. So they need to be positioned in a specific way. So those are the differential things that I do. And also understanding the lymphatic system. It's not just like a quick course. On top of seeing that through through my bachelor's degree and the doctorate degree. I've taken many specialization courses. So the understanding of it, it's one of the things that sometimes some patients that have started with other professionals, they report to me, oh, but why do you do this way? Because of the understanding of the system. For example, from a minimal thing of how to start a lymphatic drainage session, the first thing I do is check my patient's blood pressure. It's a parameter. And many times people are like, but why are you doing that? And then when I explain, they're like, oh, that's how you start the procedure for me. And then breath work, it's another part because it's how you stimulate the system. So things like that are the differential for me.
Oh, I love to hear it so much. Yes, just listening to you speak about it, you know what you're talking about. And if anybody wants to patronize any type of lymphatic drainage service, they should come to you because you know exactly what you're doing, girl. So let's talk about the business part of it for a second because you are a business queen of Kansas City. And because you're not originating from Kansas City, you're coming into the country and creating a business. Can you talk a little bit to maybe some difficulties you may have had or experienced, or what you found was easy to establish a business in the States after not being in the States or not having the experience of growing up in the space and being a different culture and stuff? Can you talk to that a little bit?
I can definitely say that it was. I'm not gonna say that it was completely super difficult. It was. I had a lot of help from my husband. He is a businessman, so that helped too, and he is from here. But at the same time, I had to do a lot of research because of what you explained. I'm not from here. Different rules, different regulations. Every day I learn a little bit more. Putting my face out there too was a little bit of a challenge. I'm more of like behind the scene, and I understand that I need to show my face also to build the relationship with the clientele. And because they don't know me, where I am from, everybody knows me. I was a teacher for many years, so I knew a lot of people in here. I have to start putting myself out there, but it's something that I also like at the same time since I've worked as a teacher for many years. I've done lots of lectures in my field too, as a physical therapist, working with the geriatric population. I had a couple of projects on prevention. I'm a big advocate of exercise and moving, and I feel like it can prevent a lot of problems instead of having to work with, okay, now I'm sick. What do I do now?
And how long have you been in business?
So with this business, 1 year.
I've also been in business. Well, it feels like for 1 year, but it's actually been 4 years. So I love that. And I hope that just you showing your face on my podcast will bring you more business. That's the goal. So I do ask all of my guests two standard questions, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. So the first question is if you if we could take one thing away from this episode today, what's the one thing you want us to take away?
One thing that I would want you guys to take away would be the importance of the lymphatic system. If you are interested, read a little bit about it, but look for good sources like articles. Not everybody has the understanding of an article, but it's not all sorts of news or just influencers follows. Or if you're going to follow some influencers, which can be good, but look for, okay, so who is this person? What does this person do that give her the credentials for talking about this? Because okay, now she's teaching me how to do this maneuver. Can I really do it? That's one of the things that it's a little bit scary as a healthcare professional. I am a healthcare professional, but I'm not an influencer. So for me, making all the videos of teaching is not as easy as it is for an influencer, but I have the knowledge behind. So great that people are following, are starting to discover about this system that is so related to our health, but let's look for good sources.
So in this age where we are inundated with so much information coming at us at higher rates than it's ever been, one of the things that I've noticed is that people do not have the skill to be able to discern from what is fluff and what is actually real. They have no idea, and they will take a video. It's someone passing misinformation or even their opinion as a fact, but they're so passionate about the opinion that it's believable. And then people believe the opinion instead of going to look for the information themselves. So what you said is so important for all of us to know, and about not just lymphatic drainage and the lymphatic process, but all information. Research all the sides, all these videos that people are sending around, passing on harmful things, harmful information. That's how people are getting hurt. And so we want to make sure that you get the right information. And so we got to get your face out there too, so you can inject your expertise into a space where there's misinformation floating around. And then my next prompt, please finish it. I used to think, but now I know.
I used to think that working with manual lymphatic drainage was going to be something that I could use just with patients that have a problem, an issue with their lymphatic system. And now I know that that's not the only case, that it can be very applied for wellness. I am also a person that works a lot with evidence based. So even before the podcast, I was looking for all these articles. So it's still, there aren't many articles, systematic reviews that talk about like all the good results. There is a lot of clinical trials, but still we can see some of the reports of the patients, but I would like to see more. Maybe that's going to be my PhD. I would like to see some researches, some more double-blinded, randomized studies, because that's important to have the evidence. I practice evidence based.
And that really is the fine line that we walk when we are introducing alternative modalities to a space where, if it's scientific, that means it's pharmaceutical or, westernized, as opposed to maybe fully encompassing all the other things that we could use. Like, for example, when I would experience pain, I would take a leave because that was the only thing that I knew that would alleviate my pain. But after being introduced to minerals, I realized that I could take magnesium and feel just as good as taking a leave, but a leave has all this other stuff in it, and magnesium just has magnesium.
It's good that you talked about pain. That is one of the things that we can use the manual lymphatic drainage for controlling too. Like, there are a couple of studies talking about fibromyalgia and how the manual lymphatic drainage can assist on that. Again, there isn't a randomized double-blind controlled trial, but there are some clinical trials talking about that, talking about fibromyalgia, that is a problem that causes a lot of pain. And one of the things that can be used is manual lymphatic drainage. One of the things that is treatment actually is physical exercises. So what comes from that too is that we love immediate results. Maybe that's why we go to the medication. We want the immediate result. We want to feel better immediately. But trying alternative therapies can be, in a long term, something that works really well for our body.
You just hit the nail on the head. It's so true. In our microwave society, we want things to happen fast, but true healing hurts. You're going to go through a process like you just alluded. You don't have to have plastic surgery to go through a process of healing. If the healing is going to be authentic, you're going to go through some sort of process to get to the healing. We could take the fast fix, but you really could be masking something or hurting yourself even more if you choose to go to a modality that you think is a quick fix, but really is just preventing you from feeling where you need to heal even more. And so, using a therapy like lymphatic drainage could help you to move through and actually heal from your pain so you won't have to experience it. Because, to your point, I've have acquaintances that have fibromyalgia, but then I know some other people that were on alcohol for a long time. And now they have neuropathy from the withdrawal of the alcohol. So, would lymphatic drainage procedure also help with that?
With neuropathy, I haven't seen any studies that would be helpful, but at the same time, there are lots of things talking about how the manual lymphatic drainage works on the autonomic system, which is related to nerves. And since it has a calming, relaxing effect, so I won't say yes and I won't say no. Maybe I just haven't read or studied enough about it to give you like a specific and a correct answer on that. But definitely, for example, from the fibromyalgia and from other problems I've been reading related to it that can help, that is related to the nervous system, maybe it could be a pathway too. But it's also uh, pain is a lot in our brain. I'm not saying that the person is not feeling pain, but even the new things that we've been using in therapy, when we use mindfulness actually as a form of managing pain with patients. But it depends on beliefs. But that's a whole nother podcast for you.
It's a whole other podcast, but it's in perfect divine alignment with all of my other content because I'm big on holistic therapy. I'm big on plant-based dieting because I'm plant-based, have been for 8 years, and it healed my body, healed me. And then I'm big on just finding different ways outside of what they told us we had to do. And they equals the system. The system told us we had to follow certain things and do certain things, and when we're sick we go to the hospital, but that's we don't have to. We don't have to do those things because there's other people in holistic fields that can heal you in a natural way. I even have some family members, they take medicine for one thing, but the one thing has all these side effects, so they got to take other medicines for the other side effects that also has side effects. And they can't get out the cycle.
It can be a snowball for sure of all things. But like again, coming from the healthcare field, I'm not saying that depending on the problem, depending on the issue, sometimes it's medication that you have to go to a physician that will prescribe the medication. But going back to what I said in the beginning, I'm big on prevention.
D.
Let's be proactive for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and that's what this is about. I literally was just thinking about that today. How this and other things that I'm interested in are more about how do we prevent something from happening before we get there and we have to be reactive. And that's what I was talking about also with the systems too. Our systems are set up to be reactive. It's like at the height of it, now we got to do something because none of these other modalities can work now because we're here. And so in those cases, for sure. But a lot of things we can do can be from a proactive space. So that's why I'm glad you're here. Okay. So to wrap up, how can my audience connect with you?
Yes, so I have a website, Lymph Wellness KC. So you can find my business through the website. I also have an Instagram account, Lymph Wellness KC. I'm not 100% good with posting consistently. That's one of my goals for 2025, but more from the website. There's like a phone number that you can find me there. You can text on that phone number. You can give me a call if I'm with patients and I can't immediately answer. I'll always talk and call back. You can also email me if you have questions. There is a chat bot on the website that you can send questions, and as soon as the system sends it to me, I'll answer on email as well. Just provide me with information that you would like, where you would like me to communicate with you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. Well, that's all for me this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoyed that conversation because it was highly informative. Special thanks to Dr. Suellen, who was willing to share her experience on a public platform such as this. Go follow her on social media. I'm humbled that she chose to spend some time with me because these ladies, they are busy. They got stuff to do, places to be, people to see. So thankful for her, and Jessica and Stephanie and Lenora. Next week, I'm continuing my Business Queens of KC series with another set of business queens. We're leaving the health and wellness business world and we are entering into the world of community support. So, next week's business queens are Bell's Gardens co founders, yours truly, Dr. Mallory D. McCoy and Aisha Williams. People are always asking about our business because our business title doesn't actually tell about what we do. It's a deeper dive, but I'm very excited to have a whole podcast about what we do and why it's important for you to support a business like ours. So you don't want to miss it. Of course, you don't want to miss it. I say that all the time. Until then, love and peace to all of you. Have the best week. Thank you for tuning in for a Monday Moment with Dr. Mal, now proudly a part of the Alive Podcast Network. You can find this show on the Live Podcast Network website and app, and you can find this podcast streaming across your favorite podcast streaming platforms. If you love to have the visual, you can tune into my YouTube channel when Mallory lives to see this show and catch up on all my shows from the beginning.